Heather, thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule today to be here with me to talk to us about the Blueprint Women in Business Summit coming up Thursday, September 17th, right around the corner. So, Heather, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what people can expect to hear from you at the Blueprint.
Sure. I am Heather Noggle. I am half people, half tech, and I've always been that way. So most of my career has been in tech, but I started in human resources, and there's so much about data and people involved in technology and communication. So that's my background and my degrees in communication. Right now, I'm working largely as an assessor in the defense industrial base for a certification called CMMC. I can tell you a little more about that later, but not today because we don't have enough time for that. But I also help small businesses with their cybersecurity. The definition of cybersecurity starts out people, processes, and then it ends with technology. And everybody thinks it's all technology. So I work to demystify that a little bit.
I love that. And yes, you are. I think there are so many trainings, that people go through on don't click this or whatever, but
Yeah,
there's a lot that we think about on the tech side, but people are really what makes it work. And people are
yeah.
where things can start, end, go good or bad.
That's right. That's exactly it. And I think if people understand that there are many, many things we can do to be safe, especially in super small businesses, and being really intentional about it and how we approach technology, that keeps us much safer.
Yeah. So what brought you to this point with it? Give us a little bit about your background there.
Sure, there is a big push right now in the defense industrial base and being to a level or a standard of cybersecurity because that's our country and our secrets we're trying to protect. And so about a year ago, I decided to pivot into that space, and I just yesterday got my final certification on it. The government puts you through a gargantuan background check, just a level below secret clearance, just to even have the certification. So I'm feeling really blessed this week that that came in, and so I will share a few things I've learned along the journey and just becoming who you're meant to be, even in your 50s too. So that'll probably be a couple things I talk about at the conference, even though it's not really on my list of things.
I love that though. Also, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
huge. That's really exciting. So, yeah, so you said that you were doing something before and then you pivoted to this. So, what was the before?
I just keep getting narrower. It was more general cybersecurity and still some governance frameworks and writing policies and procedures and helping companies. Like, for example, if you take credit cards, if you know the number, you're subject to a standard. And that's something that everybody in a small business needs to understand. It's better to not know the number because if somebody else takes on that risk for you, then you don't carry that risk of not being compliant. And there are all sorts of things I like to talk with small businesses about, but I needed a little bit more work for where I am in my life, and I was really enjoying what I was doing. But the pivot is just into a deeply busy, necessary function within cybersecurity. So that's why I did it.
Yeah.
It's
And I
getting
think
niche.
yes. I think, what you were mentioning with like taking credit cards, but there's so many things now that we just so passively do, whether it's, Apple or Google Pay on our phone, or yeah, just keep my
Mhm.
number on file, or all of those things that we don't think about. I was talking with a friend recently who even was talking about being out of town and now the like RFID, the protection in your wallet because somebody walked by them and got their card
Right.
number and just so even
Mhm.
if you may think that, oh, like security is for big, huge companies out there, it touches everybody.
Yeah, I have a slide when I talk through giving a webinar where basically you and I are connected together, even if we didn't meet until today, but we're connected through the internet and we're connected to Taylor Swift's tour bus and somebody's fridge and somebody's Ring doorbell. It's just all connected. And so the idea is that each one of us is responsible for securing our part of it and understanding what that takes. A lot of different machines, like your home router, it'll come with a default password. And if you don't change that, that's the same default password that 500 other people or 500,000 other people had, and it's scannable on the internet. So I don't want to scare anybody when I go through here. Thank goodness we've only given me a short amount of time to talk because we could go a half day on this stuff. But hopefully everybody comes out of it with just general knowledge of what they can do in their businesses to be a little bit more secure without a lot more effort. And then a game plan for, well, where am I going to be in 3 months? Where am I going to be in 6 months? What do I need to consider when I'm growing as a business? That's really a pivot point. If you're super successful in your business and you're starting to grow, what does it mean to take on employees and to have to train and do policies and things like that?
Yeah. I think especially around here too, it's very common to hire somebody that you met through a some sort of social network, or your niece's
Mhm.
whoever, your cousin's this, and we may not be doing those background checks because, oh, well, that's Judy's niece and it's fine. And
Mhm.
so much access that we give other people as we grow, and especially at a pivotal time where you may be taking on your first couple of employees.
Yeah, and that's true. And you're buying equipment, and from day one, you need to know what equipment you have, the age of it, what's installed on it. And so the idea of those things, we won't touch them all, but obviously I can help with that and some things that I put online and places I can point to where I've talked about these things before. So that's the beauty of a conference, is a lot of knowledge gets shared in a lot of different areas. I took a look at all the people who are speaking, and we're all over the place on all the things we do. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I completely agree. I love one of the things that you said that in a funny way kind of goes back to some other things that we've talked about with some of the other speakers, and
Hmm.
that's that we are all connected,
Hmm.
whether we realize it or not, just meeting you. But speak a little bit to that connection and what that means to you, separately from, I think we can look at AI out there or the internet, whatever, and we see this vast void a lot of the time. But you're speaking to it as a connection. So
Sure.
speak a little on that.
So I've been online since 1992. I'm a very early adopter in some of the online games that were going on between the colleges and things like that, and just blew my mind that you could talk to somebody for free in the age of long distance just by typing. And so
Right.
we weren't doing voice chats like this or having conversations, but we were able to type to each other. And I actually met my husband online on accident. Not then, years later, but still in a text-based sort of thing, asking him a question just based on his username. So life can connect us. We can find people who are like us. My son often dates from a game he plays, and he'll have a date with a girl and be like, "Nope, okay, that's not going to go any further, but that's okay." And that's very commonplace now. Whereas back in the day, we were all very, if you don't know the person, then you've got to be hands off. But do we really ever know a person without really sitting down and spending time? So that's the idea. The connection is spending the time. And sometimes some of my colleagues in work, I do more virtual work, or I'll fly in, meet the customer, and come back and do most of the work virtually. But we can build true, meaningful connections. And we had to during COVID without being in person. And then when you meet a person in person after lots of time on video call, or even if it's just voice, there's definitely a real connection there. So I feel like the internet has brought us closer together if we choose to let it be so.
Yes. All of the tools are there. It's what we do with the tools
Right.
that shapes it. I enjoy that. I love some of the cybersecurity and all of that. I read some books, listen to some audiobooks on how that's changing a lot of things. But that's a story or a conversation that you and I can have
Sure.
separately day of. But well, I'm excited to have you. Uh, are there any talking about books and things like that? It doesn't have to necessarily be in your field, or it could be, but are there any meaningful books throughout your life, throughout anything that hits you now, anything you'd like to share?
So I just read, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called, so we'll edit that part out. But it has to do with eating real food and how we messed up our metabolisms in our bodies by enriching everything and tricking our bodies, and all the things having to do with artificial sugars and sweeteners and all that, instead of just eating the real thing and being mindful and liking your food and being present. So it was kind of a good book. But I have a podcast to share because it's
Okay.
super technical, but it is also very accessible. It's called Darknet Diaries,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's true stories from the dark side of the internet, and it is addictive. So I
I
do like that just because it's relevant to my field, but it's something I can share with people. He'll explain the terms he's using. And for people who are not deeply technical, they won't follow everything, but they'll get the idea that there's some crime going on here, and here's how we catch the people. It's all done very well with narrative and music and everything else. So I'll share that because it's a little different. But behind me and over to the right there, I've got four bookcases, and I think in our household we have probably 4 or 5 thousand books. So to pick a favorite is really
oh
hard.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Um, Out of my own curiosity, this the Darknet Diaries, does that have to do a little with like the Silk Road kind of
Oh,
Darknet?
well beyond that. Like
Okay.
people who used to be criminals who've reformed, people who were doing good things but still got caught and got prosecuted or almost prosecuted and what they went through. There are people on there who caught bad behavior and they were able to attribute it to another country, things like that. They're just fascinating. Not everyone's as good as every other, but this guy makes some serious money just making this podcast because it's really,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm excited about that. All right. Also, are there any quotes, mantras that follow you throughout your life?
Specific to cybersecurity, it may be invisible, the need for it, but it's not imaginary. I say that
Mm,
all the time. Uh, just a lot of it is be present. 'Cause I have to remind myself to be present. I'm not always good at that. I'm always in my head. The other one is live in your body. You know, whenever I need to get out of my head, remind myself to live in my body because that can be kind of hard. Because this is always worrying and doing all the things. Not worrying, but worrying, WHIRRING. It's always going. It's hard to shut it down sometimes. So those things, and then just to trust that it's going to be okay. You know, you look at all the things you go through in life, and some of the things are definitely not okay in the moment, but look at where you are now. Okay, I'm okay. Things are going to be
yeah.
okay. So,
I love what you said too about that just because it's invisible doesn't mean that it's imaginary. And
not.
that one of your favorite books you just read had to do with the things that we eat. Because
Mhm.
I think, sometimes all of that work on the inside that we can't see, what our internal organs necessarily look like unless they're getting scanned. But we
Mhm.
may not see all of that, but it's just as important. And that kind of overlaps directly into what you do with we may not see all of those things
Mhm.
every day in how we're protecting our future in those ways, but they are incredibly important.
And they're not imaginary. They are there. The threats are there, and the things that we can do to protect, many of them are very simple. And then I'll probably touch on during the seminar or the talk, I'll probably touch on briefly about how hard it is to get cyber insurance now, or if you get it, how hard it is to qualify if you absolutely need it. That maybe in the moment, if you're not doing the things you attested to, then they're just going to deny you and you're out your money and you have the problem. So,
Wow.
yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's
We'll
something I
see. I'll
hadn't
have
even
that
thought
in the
about.
back pocket. If we don't have a lot of questions, maybe I'll bring that one up. But
Yeah. Well, I love that. Well, Heather, before we go, thank you so much for all of this information. Is there anything that you would like to share to wrap up, to invite people to the blueprint? Anything else you'd like to close out with?
I'm super honored that you all thought of me. I haven't been doing a lot of local public speaking. I tend to speak on stage nationally, more to people already in my field. So it's really fun for me to come and talk about what I do, what I'm passionate about to other women, especially. This is a very male-dominated field that I am in, and to have women take an interest, and especially business women, because you all have my heart here. Go out there every day making something that is new and interesting and connecting people and doing things in the way that we do business. So very excited.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Heather. I can't wait to actually meet you in person, IRL,
Yes.
and not just over not AIM messenger anymore, but
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
real world. Well, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. We will see you Thursday, September 17th at the Blueprint.
Thank you.